Hi, this is Bob Dodge with Artemis Gallery. I started dealing in ancient art about 25 years ago after being a collector for about 2 years. The reason I got into dealing ancient art, my wife said I was collecting too much, so I had to get rid of some of my collection. And one of the things that's kind of fascinated me over this time is how the female form has been represented in ancient art. The first example of the female form that we've got in ancient art is this little fertility figure from Syria. The form is called a Tellhala figure, and she is clearly designed for fertility. So she is a goddess. She would have been kept in the home, and she would have inspired the gods and goddesses to help in the fertility process in the home. You can see that she's a mature individual. She's got ample thighs, wide hips, perfect for childbearing, and fully developed breasts. And this was purely designed for fertility purposes. Very interesting kind of abstract female form, 7,000 years old, so a very, very early example. Moving into the Greek world, the Greeks, of course, loved the female form. They loved the male form. They loved the body just in general. So the Greeks, they represented the ideal woman in a portrait that we commonly call the Lady of Fashion. So if you hear of the LOF, or the Lady of Fashion in Greek art, it almost always represents a profile of a female form, usually wearing some type of head ornamentation, pearls. So this was considered the classic beauty of the day. By current standards, might not be what we would consider to be a classic beauty. If we were to draw what I think most people would define as classic, she would lose a little bit of her chin, a little of her weight, be much more emaciated. But at 340 BC, this was the perfect female. The Etruscans, this is southern Italy. The Etruscans from northern Italy incorporated the Lady of Fashion into their ancient art and their potteries. So here is another Lady of Fashion. Again, more heavy set than what we might consider to be the perfect female, but very abstract, almost Picasso-esque. So you can see that we've got a nose, and we've got the hair, and we've got the ear, and we've got pearls. I've had people tell me they couldn't see the image of a female there, but I think it's very clear. This style is called a genitalia plate, dates to about 350, 400 BC, kind of classic Etruscan. Moving over to the New World. Every culture in the New World used the female form in art representation in one form or another. So starting on the western side of Mexico, this is from Jalisco, and this was the classic female beauty of the day. Again, not what we might consider to be classically beautiful. Very elongated head, tattooed face. Tattoos have been around for, gosh, almost forever. Again, wide hips, fully developed breasts, tattooed. So again, you can tell by the features of this, wide hips and everything about this shows us that this individual was ready for childbearing. So she would have been placed in a tomb as an attendant, but also represents fertility and childbirth. The figure behind her, same part of Mexico, this is from Nayarit. This is, again, kind of the classic beauty from Nayarit, Mexico. Showing her teeth, big nose ring, which I don't know if most of us would agree that a nose ring adds much in the way of beauty, but in Nayarit, Mexico at 200 BC, obviously did. Wearing a patterned skirt, just kind of a very classically beautiful pre-Columbian piece, dates about 2,000 years old. Over on the other side of Mexico, down into Central America, The Mayan cultures also represented the female form. So we've got classic beauties, we've got fertility. This is a goddess. So this is a corn goddess, and she's kind of identified as a corn goddess because of the corn impressions on her shoulders. But she was a goddess that helped ensure that the crops were successful. Corn, or maize as it was known, was critically important to the cultures of South and Central America and North America as well. So the ancient cultures would develop goddesses that would help ensure that the corn crops would be plentiful. So here is a classic Mayan votive or effigy of a seated corn maiden or corn goddess. And now moving into modern times, or somewhat modern times, this is the quintessential fertility goddess or fertility idol of the Akan people of Ghana. And if you've seen anything in the way of African art, this is the most enigmatic figure that you will ever see. We see more of these than just about any other variety. Most of them have been made after 1970 and are for the tourist trade. This is an authentic, ritually used fertility idol, and this was designed to be carried on the back. The reason it's flat is because it would be much more comfortable than if it were really three-dimensional. So carried on the back the way that the women of the time would carry their children. This dates to the end of the 19th century and is just a beautiful, beautiful example of an Akan fertility idol. So you can see the female form has been very important throughout ancient times, represented wonderfully in ancient art and into the more modern art, and makes a great addition to any collection. If you have any questions, give us a call. Bob Dodge, Artemis Gallery. Thanks.